power of music is part of the vibration that makes up matter. Nothing you can see, that you perceive, or that you can't perceive would even be if it wasn't for music. It is us. We would not exist without it.
I'll walk you out in the morning dew, my honey. I can't walk you out in the morning dew today.
I got into guitar building primarily because I had an erroneous understanding that I needed a refined electric bass or refined electric instruments like the real players, Jerry Garcia and Jack Cassidy. My intent by becoming a guitar builder, it was only to build myself a bass, an instrument, so that I could go out and play. Being a guitar builder as an occupation was never the thought either. As the artist that creates this stuff, there's nothing more beautiful for me than to see these guitars succeed in life. I would say in 1968, 1969, there was somewhat of a revolution as it related to guitar building and guitar construction.
Like most basses or guitars that you hear, have one or two good tones on them. This bass has many, many good tones and can simulate the sound of other basses.
There was a lot of brainstorming going on, trying to, push the envelope in terms of what the guitar could be, which eventually brought me to California to work with Doug Irwin to learn how to build guitars. Doug had worked for the company Alembic, which at the time was partially owned by the Grateful Dead. The Alembic was primarily a recording studio at first, and they worked on sound systems, but it morphed into making guitars.
Getting a little carried away there.
Everything in those days was Fender and stuff like that, and we were starting to build our own equipment, and that was completely revolutionizing music and sound.
Try to get them up at the top. Think about it. Because that would be the hippest.
The screen is so high,
Hey, man, I know, but you'll just have to get stuff to happen down here in the middle somewhere by timing it.
But that means you can only do that stuff.
We were all trying to, push the envelope in terms of what the guitar could be, what it should be, what it had been.
It's a great space to have gone through as a musician, to go into that period where you can explore the edge, move to the edge and just live dangerously. And the audiences appreciate this. They realize that you're living dangerously and you might fall off, but just as easily could go over the top and lift the roof off a place,
all kinds of techniques were arriving on the scene, and we had to have instruments that could handle that stuff. I wanted to go into the upper position on the electric bass, and some of those instruments sounded so bad. I mean, it's as if they didn't even build them for those notes to be played. And so, in my case, the Alembic people came along, and they had a bass that was more even. You could play in the upper register. I'd like to think that those guys are trying to keep up with the musicians.
What Alembic became in San Francisco was a collective of knowledge about sound. We had an exchange of ideas going on. Of course, the main thing were guitars. And Jerry, he was an amazing guy with a guitar, as everybody knows.
Alembic offered to their workers that they could build their own instrument to sell so that they could help supplement their income. And that's what Doug did. And Jerry saw this guitar that he had built and fell in love with it right away. At that point, Doug became Jerry's luthier.
When I saw Doug Irwin's work, I realized at that point that he was doing something innovative and building these guitars that were like Stradivarius violins.
It was a beautiful guitar. When I saw it from a distance, I couldn't really tell what it was. It just didn't look like any other guitar I'd ever seen, or heard for that matter.
And we took that guitar to Europe with us in '72. We found these incredible stickers all over, stickers that you didn't get in the United States at that time, that really were beautiful. We found a beautiful wolf leering from the cartoon of Tex Avery, Wolf. So that went on the guitar, and it became the Wolf guitar.
What I learned from Doug early on was to really be in tune with the player, and as the builder, to interpret what you think their needs might be.
I look at Tom as a bass maker, a guitar maker as well, but also as a player. That's the thing that differentiates Tom from a lot of other makers. He's a musician, so it's like me talking to another musician. The only difference is he can make a bass and I can't. So I'm saying, well, I need this. I know, okay, we can do this.
A lot of Stanley's requests over the years has really been ideas of his. At one point, he believed a direction to go was having certain effects on board, which is interesting because it's almost doing what Jerry did with the effects loop. When you deal over the years with a client, well, it winds up being a situation where you both grow through the art. As a player, you are able to better define yourself to the builder. And as a builder, if you're paying attention, then you continue to morph those things into the new instruments. And that's really what happened with Jerry's stuff.
Tom and Doug were out there working in the crux of what I would call the very heart of the years that Doug Irwin guitars were alive. And the collaboration of those two was beautiful to watch.
Doug and I worked together from August of '74 through to November of '77. We did lots of good work. We produced several models of guitars, not just the Garcia. But Jerry was really the main contributor to what we were doing.
As we dialed these instruments in, Doug was always in our life. We'd take a break from the tour and we'd say, Doug, you got to get out here and fix this guitar. And so he would take them and he'd disappear. He would give me gray hairs sometimes.
Doug and I got the Wolf back because it really needed to be refinished at that point. And I was the apprentice, so I did all the funky stuff. Doug grabbed me and said, wait a minute. He said, before you strip this down, I want to take a tracing of the Wolf sticker. So I stripped the guitar down, and Doug completed the marquetry inlay of the Wolf sticker. And we finished the guitar and delivered it to Jerry. He's got the guitar on his lap, and he's looking at it, and he looks up at us, and he looks down again, and he looks up, he says, how did you save the decal? And Doug and I just started laughing our ass off. I said, Jerry, I said, we couldn't save the decal. That's an inlay. That's a piece of marquetry. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. He was so thrilled that we had done that. This one's really looking to me like that's going to be the top. Absolutely. And, you know, the back, once again, is a representation of what's better than the top of most guitars, which is the tradition that Doug and I did back in, started in '74. Then I'll take the plexiglass templates of the ornamental design and place it over the piece of wood to find the optimal figure out of the piece of wood. So this way I can see exactly the shape of the guitar. If there's a weak figure over in the knob area, that's okay because there's a bunch of knobs that are going to go there. So, and the same thing here where everything gets routed out in the center. I don't really care if there isn't a lot of figure in that area because it's all getting routed out. So this way I can push all the figure right into where, you know, the shape of the guitar is.
Tom, he has the typical environment of an old world luthier. I like that about Tom. I mean, that's what he is.
Tom is a great artist. He's a man I respect immensely. When I was looking for a custom bass, Steve Parrish and Jerry, they recommended the Doug Owen shop. I went up there and Doug introduced me to Tom.
That was really my first solo in building and working with an artist. Doug was busy with the Jerry project, and he basically threw that one at me. He said, okay, here, handle it. And I was a bassist also, so he figured I'd get along well with Pete.
You know, I wanted him to build an instrument that was his creation. When he delivered the instrument to me, I couldn't believe it. It's this piece of art, really. This is the bass here. There's a dragon here. And this is Kokoboa wood. It was actually the same tree used for Jerry's guitar, Tiger. This is the actual same tree, piece of wood, not just same kind of tree, but the actual piece of wood, because they made Tiger right after this.
They were working on these woods that were very rare. No one else I know ever even really made these guitars out of these exotic woods at that time.
Tiger was a whole different beast. Top and back is the same. It's Cocobolo, then it goes to a maple veneer. A 16th of brass runs in. It's inlaid in all the way around the instrument, top and back. And then there is the quilted western maple, which was extremely highly figured. The same wood that is on the face of the Wolf is laminated and buried between all the other laminations as a core on the Tiger. And we did that as a little piece of magic in actuality because we felt that, you know what, using something so outrageous as just the core of the instrument is really going to make this thing special. It was really an instrument that was put together and conceived in such a way that people would never reproduce this thing ever again. And 40 years later, this is what people are doing. People are reproducing this thing. Well, now I think we got to go over and take the ones out, the wolf fingerboards, necks out from yesterday. And so there's one of them babies. This is actually Kenny's from the New Bohemians. Kenny Withrow. The 50th anniversary guitars, the Wolf and Tiger that we're building, are designed for Jerry. So rather than to make them a D. Irwin or make them a Lieber, I wanted them to make them a Jerry. These were Jerry's guitars. These were specific designs made for him and played by him. The instruments themselves are comprised of ecologically sustainable materials that are locally grown here in upstate New York, and it's a figured maple and a black walnut. The reason I specifically chose these woods was because the Cocobolo really is a wood that is endangered in many ways. It's not a sustainable product because of how long it takes to grow. And also, I wanted to make an instrument that was really representative of both designs, because there's a little piece of the wolf and the tiger now, and there's a little piece of the tiger and the wolf now, which is an interesting thing for me as a builder to see that happen. I'm thrilled to be able to make this offering to the fans.
There's a few iconic guitars, but there's something about Jerry and what he did on these guitars that makes it's like a mystery. It's like magic. So, these instruments that it happened on are just iconic to people. It's really special.
The lineage of just Tom working on the Tiger guitar for Jerry is just incredible. So I just wanted to be a part of it. And I feel like it's a piece of art as much as it is a guitar, and I'm just honored to have it.
This guitar really speaks, and that's what struck me right away. It's something every guitar player who wants to play dead music is in search of, The sustain is really solid. Keeps going. I don't want to be Nigel Tufnell right now, but the sustain is amazing.
There's something special about it when you hold it and you play it. There really is. There's a vibe to it, and every single person I know that's played this guitar have put it down. Even if they weren't Dead fans, they don't even know who the Dead is. We're like, wow, this thing is amazing. And it really is.
The Grateful Dead is like the improvised jazz songbook of rock. They're the jazz standards of rock. Jazz standards are played under the understanding that it's the way you play them. And Grateful Dead music these days is that for rock.
tailpiece look like? I haven't seen that yet. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's put it in the male position. That's where he always played. Part of this is in a commemoration of what Doug and I did on Jerry's Wolf guitar. So when I had the opportunity to do this and decided that Jerry was actually going to be the logo, I wanted it to be a piece of wood to commemorate what was done on his instruments.
Everybody who heard Jerry play was touched in their heart. He was so humble. He always said to me, man, there's a million guys that can play like me, but I always said, I've never heard one yet.
Pretty much every day I'm kind of blown away by how far-reaching the whole thing is. It's very emotional because, you know, it's my father who, of course, I loved and miss, but it's also the emotion that other people feel. And I'm really glad we were able to partner with Liebherr on these guitars. I'm very, very proud.
It really represents a sweet spot in a lot of people's lives. You know, when they were in high school and college and going to shows, and their lives were a lot less complicated probably than they are now. And it just makes them happy.
I realized that those guitars, the Tiger and the Wolf, the fact that I got to take care of them was, for me, a great gift. There'll never be another real guitars like that, and there'll never be another Jerry to play them. But there will be new people that might get inspired down the line by those guitars.
This new batch of guitars he's making, he's taking the inspiration that he felt when he was working with Jerry. They're imbued with that vibe, the Irwin shop vibe. You get to have a guitar that is built by somebody that actually worked on Jerry's guitar. They're just beautiful, beautiful instruments.
Tom Liebherr, he was just a guy that was an extraordinary instrument maker, and I mean, that's what he is. He's nothing else. He's that. And that's, you know, the world needs people like that.
You know, what I'm doing is I'm just creating a tool for the musician. And what that tool does is it allows the musician to, guess what? Also be a tool. Okay? Be a conduit, because that's all it is a really good musician is a great conduit to that which we pull from ourselves. And great musicians are able to do that, and that's music. Is it hard for me to let the instruments go? Not at all. It's the natural order of things, and it's a beautiful thing.